welcome to Winning Favor with People God's Way. This is your first principle. And the very first thing that I want to ask you is, how often do you pray for yourself? Leadership requires for you to get that download from the Lord for wisdom, for understanding. You see, a leader is going to be a minor type of a parent for those around you. Why do I say that? I say that because leaders are called to pull out greatness out of people. You are called to cultivate and to make people feel safe, to make them feel confident, to make them feel comfortable, that they can take steps that will cause them to grow, steps that will build their confidence, steps that they can do something. Maybe they've not heard the best things of themselves as they were growing up, but now they're encountering a leader who actually has, one, the responsibility to lead well, and two, the responsibility to influence well. My friends, leadership is not something that's supposed to be taken lightly. It is an important responsibility that God allows you to participate in. So as I ask you that, I want you to answer the question, how often do you pray for yourself? Is it often? Is it just every once in a while when you feel like your leadership is crumbling, when you're getting a lot of complaints? I don't know when and how often, but do know that it is important to pray for yourself. Another thing I want you to think about is, how have you had good and or ineffective leadership? When you can look at the ineffective leadership that you've had, we would often call that bad leadership. Can I tell you that some of the greatest lessons that I had as a leader were from bad leaders? It was from people who didn't care. They didn't really want to see me grow, and if they did, it was only so far. They only wanted me to grow so far. If I was going to surpass them, it would become a threat. And I watched some leaders also only be good leaders when they were able to cash in on some things from people, when they could get the person to be another body at their event, or another giver for their ministry, or somebody that they could take something from. Now, don't get me wrong, I do believe that if you're going to lead, that you should be able to reap a harvest from your leadership. And that could include people supporting you, etc. But at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, is my leadership style one where I'm using or where I'm empowering people? Or what kind of qualities am I exuding? My friend, leadership is not often as easy as it seems, but you do have to pay attention. So ask yourself, what were some of those characteristics of those leaders? Did they badmouth? You don't have to badmouth your previous leaders to identify the things that you don't think they did great. Guess what? I can identify and verbalize without offending somebody, but I must identify and to identify some things. Maybe I verbalize it in my mind or on paper, but you have to understand, what were some of those things? I remember being in a certain setting and serving under a particular set of leaders, and I remember my heart grieving deeply. And I made a decision in my heart, and I said, if I'm ever in this position to lead to this capacity, whatever that capacity was, I said, I'll never do that to people. I'll never treat them this way. They'll never be just another number. They'll never be just somebody who shows up and then I don't communicate with them, or I don't reach out to them. I don't ask them about their life, their soul, their circumstances. Sometimes leaders are pressed by people who take and take and take. So they get worn out, they get bitter, they get resistant, they get resentful, and so much more. But that is up to the leader to refresh, regroup, and recuperate. It is our job to take ourselves aside, to set up some boundaries and say, you can take this from me today, but you can't take much more from me. Amen? So being a leader, my friend, really will require you to pray for yourself. Ask God to allow you to exude in love, to exude in fun, to exude in wisdom, to exude in understanding, to exude in creativity. How about just some of that? There are a lot of things that a leader can really exude when they depend on the Lord and they acknowledge that they need Him for their leadership. This was principle number 1, and I hope that it's stirring you up. I hope that you're really starting to go, oh my gosh, it's important that I pray about my leadership style. It's important that I pray about the way that I present myself to those that I lead and to those that expect something from me, because this will separate you and the other leader. Stay tuned because you're going to learn so much more.